Today's music just doesn't zoomy. Zoomy. I don't dig it, man. Anyway, it's not like yesterday's music. I go back to the 70s again because the 70s had unique bands, and this was one of them. Mr. Bill Nelson and his band BeBop Deluxe. I got this when I was a kid, and I got another copy of this I bought downtown. I managed to find, and anyway, it's a UK tour live in the area, BeBop Deluxe, and I had a 45 version of this that came with it because it's two LPs. The inner LP would be a 45 when I was a kid. This one I found, it's like got a whole LP size. Instead of a 45, it's like this. It's like the 33 and third RPM version. Like I said, I had a 45. Only like 3 songs. This was the extra LP that was in it, and it was only a 45. But the other one was a 33 and a third, and the original album I bought, just like this. But with like I said, with the extra album was like a little LP. It was a 45. Anyway, so that's the RPMs are on records, 33 to third RPM. Anyway, enough about that. This album, let's talk about it. Okay, that's Mr. Bill Nelson. He was younger, and he played with a band before this, I guess, called Gentle Revolution or Quiet Revolution. I can't remember which name it was. And a couple other little projects he did when he was younger. Even when he went into sort of a mysticism, sort of a fairyland type music. He was a big fan of John Cocteau, his label John Cocteau. I still have the CDs from that. I don't have many albums from that label, but when he left BeBop Deluxe, he started a John Cocteau label, and then he went on different labels. Now he's on his own label, doing a lot of solo work again, hundreds of CDs, and he's well over 100. He's probably got a couple hundred CDs by this time, not counting the fan collections. That's Charles Tumahai. He's no longer with us. Andy Clark on the keyboard. Who was the drummer? I can't remember. He was a good drummer too, offhand. BeBop Deluxe they were around at the same time as Pink Floyd in the 70s. Terrific band, as far as rock and roll goes. He tried to make a go of it in the rock world, and he was liked and loved by many, and not so many others. Others just didn't like him, didn't care for the BeBop Deluxe sound. But actually, he was not only a great guitar player, a great imagination, also very unique guitar player. One of my favorite guitar players ever. And the electric guitar is Bill Nelson. I guess if you're going to say acoustic, it'd be Bruce Cockburn and some other ones like that. This is live in the area. It gives you a sample. You use the Rolling Stone format, mobile, to record it. Of course, this is from my old favorite German film, Metropolis. The German, he used this for his cover. It's a really old movie, Metropolis. It's been repopularized and put into music by artists, but the German fellow who made the movie lost a fortune doing it. I guess he never made any movies after that. What was his name? Fritz Lang. You're seeing a few scenes from it in the back of Fritz Lang's movie, Metropolis. There's a lot I could say about that. Anyway, Bill Nelson, his band BeBop Deluxe, one of my favorite bands, obviously, of the 70s. Not everybody's choice. When punk rock came along, Bill Nelson went out the door. And with BeBop Deluxe. Now, what's common you'll see about the 70s is they all wore very odd, to us today, clothing. I thought it was kind of neat, but the clothing was a little not what most people wear today. Although I like what they wore back then. You see that it's the same when I was talking about Sparks. They wear their own kind of odd clothing. Whatever. Anyway, the clothes don't make the man, as they say, or the band. You can see that Bill Nelson, he did like to dress up in suit and tie and that kind of thing. He did the gentleman's kind of clothes too. And have that appearance too. As you can see, this fellow's wearing drummer is wearing a tie. And so is Charles Tumahai, and you can't really see what Bill's wearing. What's great about Bill Nelson is he has these really old tape tastes in music, and of course Jean Cocteau he's a big fan of Jean Cocteau, who's the French filmman who made all kinds of films and did a little bit of jazz. You look up on the internet Jean Cocteau. He was a big fan of Jean Cocteau. This is when early film has just started, and I think what was popular with Jean Cocteau, and I have this, is Beauty and the Beast. You'll see him in concert wearing a shirt, green shirt, wearing it says Jean Cocteau. And of course, everybody that's in the know, old films, loves Jean Cocteau. Metropolis wasn't done by Jean Cocteau, by the way, just in case anybody's wondering. It's done by Fritz Lang. Now, I think Sunburst Finish is probably one of the best, most beautiful ballads I've ever heard in my life. And it goes very unnoticed by Bill Nelson. Crying to the Sky and Heavenly Homes are beautiful songs. Does he do these on this album? Well, the songs in this album he does are, let's see. It's been a while since I listened to it, but I still love it. Are from that album. I don't know if the majority are. It looks like they are. That album had been done about 1976 from an album called Sunburst Finish. This is him doing it live. Life in the Air Age. Ships in the Night, which is a one-hit wonder. That was one of my most unfavorite songs of BeBop Deluxe. It's a good song, but it's just that he did it for pop recognition. You could tell it, and he admits that. And he, it's one of those things. So he mixed reggae with rock, which was interesting when he used a lot. Mr. Nelson used reggae with rock. Nice sound, though. I mean, Ships in the Night is a good song. It's just that one of those one-hit wonder songs that I get tired of really quick. Peace of Mind is a song that I haven't really heard. It's one of those songs I've never really seen the studio version of it. It's a great piece, though. Fair Exchange is from Sunburst Finish, and then Shine is on the EP. And so is Sister Seagull, which is from his album Futurama, which is a great album too, and kind of unique album. If you're into guitar, guitar is your main thing that you love, I would advise you to get the album Futurama. That's the one album I don't have a BeBop Deluxe anymore. If I ever did have it, it's one I don't have. But I have the CDs, all the CDs. And of course, Made in Heaven is from that same album Futurama, which is on the EP. And side 4, Mill Street Junction, is one of the, Mill Street Junction, sorry. It's one of those albums that has a song that I don't recognize. Again, this live album, the Mill Street Junction, isn't a song I recognize at all from any of his actual albums. Adventures in Yorkshire Landscape is from the first album, the first BeBop Deluxe album. It's a nice, beautiful song done live, and he does a beautiful lead on it. And Blazing Apostles is from Sunburst Finish. I'll talk to you about those albums at a later date again. It took, for what I recognized 20 years ago, people are recognizing, more than 20 years ago, even when I was a kid, people are beginning to recognize these albums again, and Sunburst Finish has been recognized. It was Rolling Stone ever one of the best 100 albums of all time, in a sense. I don't know who did the rating it, but it's one of those albums that's come back on CD and has made a comeback as one of those great rock albums, which didn't get any recognition before, which Paul McCartney liked it, and it was recorded in Abbey Road Studios, the Beatles studio. But anyway, a lot of the songs on Live in the Air Age are from Sunburst Finish. Most of them from Sunburst Finish. A few from Futurama, and one from the first original lineup of BeBop Deluxe, which was with different band members. So these are different. That was the first album. Had different band members from the second and third, fourth and fifth albums, which had Charles Tumahai and the different ones that you see here on Live in the Air Age. Pretty interesting, insightful lyricist, good lyricist, and he's made a lot of avant-garde. He could have made a lot of money in the music industry, Bill Nelson, if he kept milking the cash cow from his band BeBop Deluxe. But he didn't. He left to do avant-garde work. He came out about the same time as David Bowie. He had a solo album, just like David Bowie had a solo album called Northern Dream, which was played on a radio station, popular radio station in England. That's another story. You can look up the history for yourself. He liked to go do some stuff for horror movies, and was almost going to do some work for the first movie Hulk that was produced, the Marvel movie Hulk, but didn't end up happening. Happened to Sparks too, where they did some music for some films. But that's another conversation. Um, I guess I could go on and on talking about these bands, and that these are my favorite bands. BeBop Deluxe would be one of them. Of course, Sparks and different bands. Some for humor, some for rock, some for the intensity of their style of music. Different moods, different bands, different strokes for different folks. If I'm going to recommend, this is on the internet right now. I've seen it. I'd recognize this. Recommend this album, BeBop Deluxe Live in the Air Age, if you like guitar. It's guitar oriented, even though it's got keyboards. But it's guitar oriented, and the music is superb. I think the music of Bill Nelson, the band itself, really did good live stuff in concert. You can see a lot of that stuff on the internet. I can show it some time to time. Bill's done a lot of work. He has a huge catalog now, and he has his own site. You can go on and watch us and see what he's doing. He's using a lot of. He wasn't always using bands. He just recently did a live at Metropolis a number of years ago, which I have DVD. Talk to you about that another time. But check out these old bands from the 70s. I think the 70s had the best bands, the most exciting bands. As I said, punk came along, and then BeBop Deluxe were arcade. They were put to the sidelines, just like Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Yes, and a lot of progressive bands were. Pink Floyd, they were all put to the side. But BeBop Deluxe were there on the same time as Pink Floyd. They only did 5 albums. 5, count them 5. 5. And that's all they did. So, yeah, so they did one called Red Noise, which is a little bit different project, but I'll talk about that another time. So this is my recommendation. Give it a listen. I think you'll really enjoy the music, BeBop Deluxe, live in the Air Age. Too bad I don't get paid for this. Jeez.